Shalom. Welcome to this week's update for Israel News for advocates of the strong U.S.-Israel relationship, especially teenagers out there. Okay, first we're going to have to talk about Iran. And there are tons of conflicting messages coming out about a possible Israeli strike on Iran. It's essentially a what's what, who's who, how, when, is it possible, is it not possible? And we're looking at a bunch of conflicting messages. Last week saw a congressional report that came out that said that Israel, if it did strike or the United States struck Iran, it would not be able to contain Iran's nuclear weapons for more than 6 months, wouldn't be able to set their program back. 6 months we'd be back right where we started, and therefore be almost pointless to attack. Another report came out right afterwards that said that Israel, and this came out from intelligence sources within the United States government, that Israel had signed a deal with Azerbaijan, a country to the north of Iran, to use their airfields to host a strike against Iran. Both of those comments came at very worrisome, only because they came from inside the United States government, which seems to be that somebody inside the United States government is leaking information to the press. We also saw Turkey's leader come out yesterday, Prime Minister Erdogan, it's tough to pronounce his name, who said that Israel would not be successful and would create a world war and a regional war if Israel decided to strike. That, along with the war games that we saw last week, that were leaked to media, that Israel's strike would immediately bring in America into the war because Iran would retaliate against American naval ships within the Strait of Hormuz. What does this all mean? What are we seeing with all these sources? Well, former U.S. Ambassador and staunch Republican John Bolton, who is the American ambassador to the United Nations, says that what we're seeing is the Obama administration purposely leaking information to the press to stop an Israeli attack and really undermining the Israelis' ability to defend themselves. Other authors and other experts say that that's completely not true. That's not what we're seeing. In fact, this whole idea of an attack coming from the airfields of Azerbaijan is just ridiculous and makes no sense. It could never happen. Where does it leave us? That's for you to decide and for you to understand and try to figure out what exactly is happening. Is the Obama administration pressuring Israel not to attack? Are they really laying the groundwork to attack? We also saw that America pledged, and the motions are currently going through Congress. The Pentagon has requested from Congress, and Congress, in fact, started the paperwork even beforehand for another Iron Dome installation to be brought to protect Tel Aviv. So we're seeing conflicting messages, really different things coming out from different corners. What I would suggest is that you spend your time researching online and looking at the latest information and latest news stories. We also find that Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, after meeting with Turkey's leader, that same leader that said an Israeli strike would be disastrous, challenged Iran and sent a message and asked Turkey to send a message to Iran to actually prove themselves that they are not doing anything wrong and they have no nuclear weapons aspirations. It's a challenge. Saw a little concern coming out of Egypt, which is that the Muslim Brotherhood has appointed a presidential candidate. That's a little worrisome because they said that they'd stayed out of the leadership role. Now we see that they actually do have leadership aspirations, and they are going to be running a candidate for president. They already control over half of the parliament in Cairo, in Egypt, and this is a little worrisome that they're trying to usurp even more power, again, in a democratic process through elections, but it seems like the Muslim Brotherhood will be the ruling power, both in their seats in parliament and within the presidential election. Does peace stand a chance? Tony Blair, the quartet, the four bodies that are trying to institute peace inside the Middle East, met with both Prime Minister Netanyahu and Prime Minister Fayyad of the Palestinian Authority to try to get peace on track. It seems a little difficult, and considering the fact the other news that we saw, which is Marwan Barghouti, who's a convicted murderer in Israeli prisons, called on the Palestinians to start another violent uprising, a third intifada. He has been severely punished and not given access to outside visitors, nor is he allowed to send out public messages again. That's the last thing we need, is incitement to more violence. Along that, we also saw Palestinian protests get out of hand on Friday as they pelted Israeli soldiers with rocks and stones, and we're hoping to never see that again. So it seems like peace is a far-reaching goal at this point, but one that we thank former English Prime Minister Tony Blair for trying his best to achieve, and we hope one day his efforts bear fruit. Okay, for more information, please check out the Pilichowski Page. Shalom.